not talking about the deficiencies at the elementary school. So there is issues here that if they're diligent, in fact, like Mr. Shubin said, that you have conversations that are diligent, I don't see how it's either illegal or improper for you all to consider that these $7 million don't go to open space. Now, does that affect their covenant if the village were to use it other than those designated by their suggestion?
Yes, they can't.
So the village can't?
No.
Okay, now what about the effects on the parcel and parcel of the impact fees? Are the impact fees completely separate from this covenant? They have nothing to
There
do
is
with
no
each other?
impact fee.
So the county is not being paid, or it's been waived, or what's the status on the impact
The
fee?
any impact fee owed to the county is paid to the county.
Okay, and those impact fees are designated for schooling as well. Has the council done anything about making sure that that impact fee goes to the impacted community, which is Key Biscayne? Or is the county free to spend the impact fee anywhere it wishes? I mean, these are issues that are of interest to Key Biscayne. I want to know if this is going to be acknowledged before this plan is approved, because the impact fees are associated with this development. So
We don't have control over the
conversation about that at
county's
all.
money. We don't have control over what the county's own funds.
That's not true.
We,
That is not true. If you're
okay,
elected-
man, I don't want to get into this debate right now. This is about the site plan on this
It's
issue.
about the impact fees.
Okay, but it's about the impact fees. We can talk about that later, but let's talk about the site plan. You were up here.
Oh, I think the site plan is beautiful,
Well,
but
that-
to approve a plan, it improves all the details of the plan. And I think that one of the details is the $7 million covenant. And from what I see here, if the needs of the communities are not met, the variances are being bought. It's that simple. I want you guys to seriously consider that, because that's how it appears to the people on TV who are watching it on TV. I might be the only person up here to say this, and I know it might annoy you, but that's a $7 million covenant, and there's deficient facilities here that has to do with education, and that money could go to there. And if you guys could care less about kids and education, how come underground utilities isn't considered? I mean, there's a storm on its way. I've
Yeah,
had enough.
Our concurrency is imposed by the state of Florida.
I don't understand the
We
master
had
plan.
to adopt a means to satisfy it. That's what our self-imposed constraint is. The questions that you've posed about how this was negotiated was, I think, replicated by the original covenant from 2007. The concurrency standards cover a lot of things. You've heard testimony tonight about the fact that the developers will apply the money towards open space and recreational needs. So we thank you for your comments. We've noted them. Thank you.
Okay, one final question. If you purchase the open space, in the case, your choice, can you, and I ask this to the city attorney, if you do purchase open space, a land for open space, can a facility be put on that property that you purchased, that $7 million? A multi-use facility with recreational facilities and all that, but can it be used for a school? If the village were to buy the land?
I don't know.
Okay, then I've asked the questions I wanted, and I hope that you all as elected officials pose these issues on the legality of that. Because if you do buy open space, it should be, used for school.
Thank you.
And I've learned over the years, there's certain issues that are village issues or city issues and other issues that are our issues, but I don't want anyone to think that we're being cute on the issue of the $7 million contribution. That $7 million contribution, as has already been pointed out, is a historical remnant of the previous covenant. And it is actually directly linked to your policy with respect to concurrency and open space. It's a much bigger debate, but as many of you may have read, in the last legislative session, the state of Florida has provided local governments with the ability to opt out of this requirement. So what I'm here to tell you, and these things are recorded and I don't plan on retiring anytime soon, is that in the event that for whatever reason, all of you make a decision to change that policy, therefore eliminating the open space requirement that puts us in the position that Vice Mayor Kelly identified in the beginning of this proceeding, we're agnostic as to the use of the money. That commitment from Mr. Constantini is not going to go away, but as long as you reaffirm your commitment and it becomes an integral portion of our ability to get certificates of occupancy, I think you can appreciate how we want that money dedicated to the open space. And of course, there is 1.5 million dedicated toward the community facility. So again, I'm not going to get in the middle of what is a debate that you all might have in the next year or two, but from our perspective, and again, Mr. Constantini's perspective, in the event that there is a shift in your policy, I don't want you to think that we're going to pull the money away because it was specifically dedicated for that purpose. And if anyone wants us to clarify our position in the covenant, we will gladly do so. So again, I think that everything is properly before you. All the recommendations have been, I think, affirmed. There's competent, substantial evidence in the record. Again, we thank you for your patience, and we hope that you see it appropriate for the village and its residents to give us an affirmative vote on the issues before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Subject of the concurrency, compliance, and the allocation of the money. And this is a question, not a request. Schools is part of concurrency.
Yes.
And so with the, I'm not reaching a decision, but I'm musing in public. With the flexibility that Mr. Shubin just suggested relative to how the money could be spent, the concept and requirements of concurrency include schools. So I'm suggesting that it would be within our discretion, so long as we had the flexibility to do so, to allocate some of the money towards whatever we think is appropriate relative to our public school.
I think what he was suggesting was that to the extent that you wanted to reduce your parks and recreation open space concurrency requirements, and therefore the money was not necessary to fund that need, that the money was still available to satisfy other needs of the community. And so, but that to the extent that you were going to stick with your 2.5 units per thousand and as a goal, that they wanted to ensure that the money was kept there. So if the thought is that, hey, we'd like to use it towards schools, then I think that they would be looking to you to reduce your standard on the park side an equivalent amount, so that you didn't take the money, use it towards school, and still leave a standard up here that was not being met.
No gotchas.
Right.
Well, we don't have a deficiency with regards to concurrency in the schools.
Well, we may.
Well,
I think we probably do because of overcrowding.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, the solution to that is
I'm not saying we don't have a problem with the school. I'm saying with the state mandated concurrency requirements, we meet those currently with the school.
Yes.
Whereas we don't meet them with regards to open space.
Correct.
Yes.
But we'd have to
But
make a
is-
decision to do that.
Is the state and the school board fulfilling their obligation is a different story.
they're not.
But-
So that's for another day.
But that's another,
And
yeah,
that's
we
for
can
another
certainly
day.
put pressure, but this is about
Right.
how we handle the issues
So
that
we
we can
acknowledge there's a
directly
problem,
control.
but this isn't the
Right.
proper.
Correct.
Thank you.
But aren't these all old numbers and they haven't been updated? We might have.
We may.
It can only get better for us, our side of the story is what you're saying.
Yes.
But again, the concept of concurrency, don't forget, you're punishing you're punishing yourself almost, because with that concept of concurrency, it's setting a standard and not approving anything else in your village until that standard's met.
Right.
So this idea of concurrency and schools is, well, until the school meets its obligation, or until we have a more capacity in schools, we're not going to let anything else happen in our community.
Right.
you're really imposing now an obligation on yourself to see that the schools are, obligations are fulfilled before you can do anything else. The question is there concurrency after the certificate of occupancy?
Who has a certificate?
Under this process, there is a certificate of occupancy. The question is whether the facilities will be in place after that certificate of occupancy.
Yeah, this says either at the time a certificate of occupancy is issued, our concurrency deficit has to be solved, or within 1 year
After the
after
certificate
that,
of
our concurrency
Correct.
deficit has to be solved. It doesn't prescribe how we solve our concurrency
Correct.
deficit.
Correct.
We have an EAR report that has a proposal for doing so. I think that it's fair to say that that plan is in somewhat murky territory given what's happened at the state, and we have our challenge ahead of us without regard.
One
to
of the
what this
things that the
condition says.
developer has put in their covenant, which was not in the previous covenant, is that they the $7 million contribution, which they are proffering, they are requiring that money go into the land acquisition fund, whereas the last contribution did not require that. And what they're trying to do by that is to see that those monies are put towards the acquisition of land so they can ensure that this number one does not become an issue.
Is putting that money into the land acquisition fund considered a binding executed contract?
No. Motion in a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilman Gusman?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly?
No.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Tainer?
Yes.
Mayor Kaplan?
Yes.
Councilman Davey?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved, what do we got, 5-1? Right?
Yes.
Good, okay,
That is correct.
very good.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn is in order.
Move. Got it.